Hello there. Welcome to the Senate podcast. This is episode number 3, and I'm your host, Caleb Johnston. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Tony. Tony, what would you like your nickname to be?
You could stay with Tony. I mean, that's usually what people call me.
Tony?
Unless you're fancy.
Tony. Okay. We're going to think of, by the end of the episode, we're going to have a nickname for you so that next time I can introduce you with a nickname, because this is your first time on here, so I don't really have a nickname for you yet. But
my name on YouTube, I don't know if it's showing up, is Tony Quinn, Quinn. That's not my last name, but it's like kind of a Americanized version of my name that I created because, like, throughout my life, I've met people who couldn't pronounce it. So I'm like, oh, I'll just make my YouTube name like something that sounds American, basically. It's like a joke.
And tell the people what your name is.
My real name.
Yeah, well, pronounce it how you would pronounce it.
Well, as an American, I'd say Antonio Quinones. But as a Spanish person, I would say Antonio Quinones.
Okay. There you go. We got to come up with a nickname. We're going to find a nickname for you by the end of the episode. Deal?
All right.
Awesome.
Sure.
All right. So let's jump right into it, because today we're talking about Star Wars. The Senate podcast is obviously a reference to Star Wars. You can see it in the title. You see it in the artwork. Third episode, we're jumping right in. The whole episode is going to be Star Wars related. So that's why I have you on here, man. I know you're a big Star Wars fan, and we're going to have some good conversations because we both love Star Wars and have different opinions.
Well, let me translate what you just said for the audience. Caleb is going to bring all the wrong Star Wars opinions, and I, Tony, will bring all of the right ones.
I think we should continue the episode like that. I'm gonna say all the wrong things about Star Wars, and you're gonna say the objective right opinions about Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
This is gonna be a fun one. All right, so the Senate podcast, it's coming out weekly on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and YouTube. Keep an eye out for the live sessions. He's doing a good job on those. And you were actually on it, man. What'd you think about it? I listened to a little bit of it, but you were the first person to be on both. So how does it feel?
I've never felt special a day in my life. So this is fantastic.
This is the first time you've ever felt special.
It was fun on the live sessions. Those are more like just like, you know, like a few friends hanging out, having fun, being stupid. Like, it's a little podcasty, like there's a topic, but like we also play a game at the beginning, and it's just kind of a more relaxed thing. So
good.
It was right up my alley.
I like hearing that, because that's kind of what I wanted the feel of it to be like. This to be more like a podcast, and then that to be more of, almost like you're just live. You're having a live stream of you and your friends, and that's how it is. So I can't wait to be on that. So that's all the housekeeping we have. Now we can jump into a galaxy far, far away. And I'm going to throw it over to you first with what Star Wars content have you recently been consuming, whether it's games, TV shows, movies, any of that. Just tell me what you've been doing with Star Wars recently.
Well, I've honestly been out of the loop for a while. I think after Rise of Skywalker, I was just like, after Mandalorian season 2, I was like, it's clear that cause Mandalorian season 1 was like a break from, like, it wasn't really fan servicey. It felt like a nice new direction. And then Rise of Skywalker came, and it was the exact opposite. So Mandalorian season 2 was just more of that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to back up. They're announcing a whole bunch of stuff I don't care about. I don't care about Book of Boba Fett. I don't care about any of this. They're making a show about Cassian Andor. he was barely a character in Rogue One. So the first Star Wars thing I've seen, aside from Visions, actually, which is fantastic, is
Absolutely
I saw
amazing.
episode 1 of Andor today, and I was like, wow, filmmaking in my Star Wars? What is this? It feels like 2017 all over again. This is weird.
Exactly. So tell me your first impressions of Andor.
It's weird how in the first, I'll say like 10 minutes or whatever, like 20 minutes.
What did you think about the first? Yeah, exactly. The first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that was my favorite part.
It was weird how they give Cassian Andor more personality in that short time than he had in an entire movie. Come on, an ensemble movie, and barely any of the characters feel like characters. It was weird. Like when I saw him like walking through the streets of the planet and like it's raining and you see like all these neon lights. It reminded me of the opening to one of the drafts of this space story that I thought of that I wrote like a few years ago. So that was cool. It's your classic like a shady looking guy walks into a bar, or in this case, I guess it'd be a cantina. I thought I had really good suspense, and then do you want me to not say spoilers, or because there's like one moment I want to talk about?
That's fine, man. Say it. Go for it. We can.
Okay.
Here's the thing: we can spoil things on here, but this isn't necessarily a spoiler. Like we're not reviewing the entirety of Andor and spoiling the whole thing. But if you're listening to this, you should have watched Andor. So yeah, go ahead, spoil it.
Well, if you didn't see Andor season 1, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to exit out of this podcast. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so these two guys confront Cassian Andor that were kind of eyeballing him in the club he went into when he leaves, and he manages to fight him off, and then in the scuffle, one of the guys gets killed. And then the other guy's like, "Hey, look, I'll just tell him that something else happened. It was just an accident. We were just roughhousing, and he fell." And then Cassian shoots this dude point blank in the face, and then bounces. And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like one of those Star Wars things. I can't wait."
And that there's more of that down the road. So be excited. It's not like that's the first 15 minutes and then you're not going to get any more of it. It takes a little bit for that series to pick up, because it's those first 15 minutes and then it goes for a while without having that same feeling again, because it's establishing the world, which is good because it's reestablishing the world, that we used to be familiar with. They're trying to capture that again in Andor, and then it starts to pick up eventually. So that's I'm glad you have that. I'm
glad of the episode, though, like when it flashes to that one planet, and it's just kind of like a desolate looking planet, a little bit like a slum area, and there's like a practical droid just roaming around, and then they show flashbacks to his childhood, and he's living in a tribe. Like, that's something we've never seen in Star Wars. I was exactly. Like, I love all this stuff. This is cool.
The tribe that's we only time we've seen something like that is in the animation, and they're making it like real.
Yeah, I'm curious because in Rogue One, if you remember, he tells Jin that he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old. So I'm assuming that this band of kids has been essentially like in conflict with the Empire for a long time, even back then. And like, I'm anticipating some really bad stuff to happen, which will be sad, but like, it makes sense. That would make sense to how he becomes who he is in the modern day. So I'm really looking forward to that.
We've only just begun. Besides Andor, have you watched? You mentioned Visions.
Yeah, I saw that. When was that released? Like last year, or like 2020?
Was it? No, it was either the beginning of this year or very late last year.
Let me fact check myself. I have a speech impediment, so if anybody in the audience hears me stutter, I personally don't care, but I just want to let you know so it's not like jarring.
I actually think you're doing a good job.
There you go.
Right. Even with that. And I'm looking it up now, fact checking you in real time. September 22nd, 2021. Wow, I can't believe it's been over a year.
These past 3 years feel like just one big blur. I mean, I don't remember, because of the episodic nature of it, I don't remember like a lot of specific stuff necessarily, but like I love that it's like all these animators that have, you know, like differing styles, you know, so like every episode feels different. The first one I think is like a Seven Samurai type of thing, where like a lone guy walks into a town and then there are these criminals and then, you know, he ends up fighting them, and like it's like shadowy. It feels like hand drawn kind of stuff. Like, I don't know how to explain it. And then one of them's like about this like rock band, and you know, and
did
it
you
has
like that
to do
episode?
with the hut. I was like, I love, because I think like some people, I can imagine some people being like, why is this in Star Wars? You know, like it has nothing to do with anything. But I'm like, thank God. Like, I just want random throwaway stuff sometimes. I love the one with the brother and sister that end up fighting each other.
The twins, yes. That was the end fight, and that was cool. Epic.
Yeah. Like Star Wars, that was like the last Star Wars thing that truly like made me go, wow, that was great.
My favorite one was actually The Village Bride. I think that one was by far the best one.
Wasn't there like a big reveal about her?
Yeah, I think the reveal was that she was a Jedi. It's been a while since I've seen that. I just loved it, man. I loved it.
It was really dope, though. The
all of them were
Elder
great.
one was really cool too. Let's see, the Elder.
The Ninth Jedi was so good too.
Tatooine Rhapsody, just because I have a soft spot for it. I thought it was cute as hell. And I'm gonna say Lope and Ocho, because dude, that's the one where like
that was a good one.
Everybody's like in a cave, and then it's like, why are we here? And then I forget what the reveal was. That like it was like a plan to murder the other people or something.
Last thing we'll say about this is, how about the plot of the Ninth Jedi? And the one sentence right here is, it's the daughter of a lightsaber smith is pursued by dark forces while on a dangerous mission to deliver newly crafted lightsabers. Talk about a thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what, like, I want more Star Wars movies that just feel like small scale thrillers.
Exactly. And
you know what I mean?
She wasn't like a Jedi. She was literally just, it was the Death Stranding of Star Wars. She was carrying lightsabers to a group of what she thought were Jedis, but ended up being Sith.
I think my one problem with Visions, though, is like basically every episode is about like people that can use the Force, and I'm just really tired of seeing that, to be honest.
That's one reason Andor's so refreshing.
Like, that's why I'm excited about Skeleton Crew, the John Watts show, because apparently it's just about like a group of kids that are like scrappers or something.
Yes, and isn't Jude Law in that?
Yeah. He's a fantastic villain, dude. Like, whenever he plays a villain,
he better be a villain.
Oh my God. I think I hope so.
But one thing we can talk about a little bit here, I know you didn't watch it yet, but Tales of the Jedi. And of course I won't spoil it for you, but this is what I'll say about Tales of the Jedi. It feels like Disney never bought Lucasfilm. It feels like, because it's made in the style of Clone Wars, and it's about Ahsoka, and it's about Dooku. There's a lot you can get out of Clone Wars, I will say. I mean, it was fun watching it growing up, obviously, but you kind of know, we know episode 2, we know episode 3, so we know kind of what, if you're watching Clone Wars, you know the result, Order 66 is coming, you know what I mean? But with this, very interesting part was Dooku's backstory, because it shows. I'm not gonna spoil too much. But it shows Dooku turning, and it shows young Qui-Gon as his apprentice, and you get to see Dooku with his curved hilt, and instead of red, it's blue. Looks awesome.
I'm excited to check that out for sure.
For sure. So we had Visions, Tales of the Jedi, Andor. What else? We missing something? We're missing Kenobi.
I think so.
If you want to talk about Kenobi.
Let's
do it. Let's do it. We're already here.
The last 20 minutes was great. And the last 20 minutes was great. And also the last 20 minutes was great. It was originally supposed to be a movie, and like I think the story was going to be different. I want to be a fly on the wall and see what the hell happened here, because like it sucks because like, you know, like it seemed like Hayden and Ewan were really excited to be back for it.
They were.
But yeah, I wonder if they thought they were making a show that was different to what we got, because what we got was basically the most like stale. It's like if you asked a AI to like make a Obi-Wan show, like in between, you know, like a prequel to episode 4, and it just churned out something. Like here's a hot take. I actually love Reva. I think she's a interesting character. I really liked her story, but it feels like they wedged her into the show for no reason.
It feels like exactly what you said earlier. They were trying to sell a product, and the product they were trying to sell was Obi-Wan. But
like,
instead of telling an Obi-Wan story, they just kind of threw him into a convoluted story about 2 or 3 other things going on.
Yeah, like, oh, do you remember in, you know, that famous meme where in episode 3 he says, "Hello there"? Well, he says that to Luke as a kid. Isn't that cute?
Consume it.
Not
Consume
really,
it, guys.
It's freaking stupid.
And let's just we're already here. And then the ending. What did you think about the very end?
The moment where Anakin and Obi-Wan are talking, and he like cracks Vader's helmet, and then it's switching between Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones' voice, and the blue and red light is alternating, and then he's like, "You didn't kill Anakin, I did." And then Obi-Wan starts crying, and he's like, "Okay, Darth," and then he calls him Darth like he does in episode 4. That was awesome.
I was about to say that
should have just been a short film. That should have just been a short film.
100%.
They could have put that in like Star Wars Rebels or something, because Obi-Wan fights Maul when he's an old man. They could have done something like that. I don't know why they had to make a whole show of nothing just to get to one thing where I was like, that was really good. Okay, cool. I just wasted my life. Like,
and here's my take about that. They should have made an Obi-Wan story focusing just on Obi-Wan. Okay, have Luke or have Leia, have Vader, even have Reva. That's fine. But why not give Reva the Acolyte show or something and show her story instead of trying to show her story in an Obi-Wan show? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It wasn't that she's necessarily a bad character, because she isn't. It's how they portrayed her character by the content they gave her. This wasn't her show.
It freaking ruins A New Hope too, because it's like, oh, Luke wasn't saved by the guy who made it his mission to look after him. He was saved by this brand new character that we never see again. Like, why?
And I had no problem with her character up until that point, because that takes away from how hard A New Hope hits. And that's the opposite of what Rogue One did. Rogue One was made, and it can stand alone on its own, and it's an amazing standalone film. But if you look at it within the continuity of Star Wars, it increases, what happens in 4. It makes 4 better. The opposite happens with Obi-Wan. If you look at it in standalone product, not great. If you look at it within the continuity of Star Wars, it makes 4 worse. We could talk about maybe an appearance from her in a Fallen Order game, but a Jedi game, as in like Jedi Survivor or something. That would be interesting. I'm not opposed to her character, but as far as the Obi-Wan show, seeing Uncle Owen do whatever it takes to protect Luke, it makes his death in 4 even hit harder.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, seeing very last thing, Qui-Gon at the end, his Force Ghost. I like they did that, but what I don't like is if they only did that to tease a second season or something. Leave it at that. It's okay.
Yeah.
We don't need another season of Obi-Wan and Force Ghost Qui-Gon. I would love it. I would rather have some kind of animated prequel or something. Let Obi-Wan be a one-off limited series. We don't got to turn it into a whole franchise. He wasn't doing much. He was watching over Luke. He wasn't going on all of these adventures, and you can't have multiple seasons of an Obi-Wan show unless he goes out on these adventures. You know what I mean? How are you going to have 4 or 5 seasons of an Obi-Wan show with him sitting on Tatooine watching over Luke? You can't.
Like, it was just so weird though that like they had this in between story for no reason, and then it's like it leaves him in the place he was in episode 4, but you could have just had him be in that place without this show.
It was selling a product.
It was so redundant.
I can't. It was redundant, and they can do a Star Wars with whatever they want. Just leave it. Let it die.
Yeah, exactly. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Kill it if you have to.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the games. Specifically, the Jedi games. I believe it's Jedi now. The Jedi is the name of the series they're going to go with, because we had Jedi Fallen Order, and now they're going into Jedi Survivor. Have you seen anything about Jedi Survivor?
No, here's the thing. I had this weird thing with Fallen Order where I played it in 2020. That was one of the many games I played in that time period.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty good. Like, I kept hearing how great it was. I played it. It had some great moments, but when it was done, I was like, oh, it didn't really impress me until the whole last third. I thought the last third was actually really good. My favorite part was actually the exploration, oddly enough. But so I was still feeling that way when the trailer for Jedi Survive came out. So I was like, I don't really care about this series. I'm not going to watch the trailer. And then like I heard people talk about it on a podcast. I was like, oh, whatever. And then something happened. So I watched a YouTube video that's like a long analysis of Jedi Fallen Order. And then I'm watching this video and I'm thinking about what the guy's saying, and I'm like, wow, you know what? I didn't give this game enough credit, but I'm really being persuaded to look at it in a more favorable light. And now for some reason I'm actually really excited for Jedi Survive. Like, I think Cal's like one of the best new characters we've gotten in a while. Like, I love his whole thing about like he has trauma because he saw his master die in front of him. Like, that's something we've never really seen that much of in terms of like the heaviness of it. Like, it's not, like, I love that it didn't shy away, so I'm curious to see like what kind of new challenges he'll face in the future.
My first playthrough of Jedi Fallen Order was actually earlier this year in 2022.
Oh.
So I waited a good bit to play it. I tried playing it when it first came out, and the controls ruined the game for me. So when they came out with the PS5 patch for the performance, I jumped back into it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, one of my favorite games now, of course. The story is amazing, and Cal Kestis became one of my favorite Jedi. I almost bought his lightsaber when I went to Galaxy's Edge, so I still might order one. But absolutely love that game. I think he's a great character. Like you said, you got to see Order 66 through his eyes as, being a youngling out with his master. What is it? Jarth
Yeah.
Paul, I think was his name. And that was, that was heartbreaking to experience that in the game. And now to see where that's going to take his character. Respawn did an amazing job. Respawn, the guys that make, what is it? Apex Legends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they made Jedi Fallen Order. They're an offshoot, I believe, of Infinity Ward, the original creators of Modern Warfare. I believe a lot of people left Infinity Ward and went. If I'm wrong about this, I sound like an idiot, but I think I'm right. I should fact check myself. But Respawn Entertainment, great studio. So I have very high hopes for Jedi Survivor. Have you seen the teaser for it?
No, I still haven't because I'd rather just be surprised.
Can I speculate a little bit, or is that going to ruin it?
No, I don't mind that. I just don't.
Because I'm not going to spoil it. I just want to give you some speculation, maybe put some things out there because I just thought of something very interesting. Very interesting. So in the Jedi Survivor teaser, it's just a teaser. Not much is happening. They're kind of just showing shots of ships, of troopers, of Cal a little bit. No action, nothing crazy happening. You got some voiceovers. You got three things I've noticed. And you see an Utapawan. He's obviously with the Empire. Okay, you see him. You see Cal fighting with a Sith. You don't know who the Sith is. He's wearing a black cloak, hood up. You can't see his face. You can't see anything about him. You just see Cal with a blue saber fighting a Sith with a red saber. You don't think too much about it. You see the Utapawan come back. He's talking a little bit. And then you get a shot of some creature. It looks like a human. If you look close at the guy in this teaser, in this Bacta tank, people were like, oh, that's Starkiller. I'm like, but why? That wouldn't make sense. People were speculating that it's an old Sith. Yeah, go ahead.
Play the trailer on mute so I could
play the trailer while I kind of speculate because I want you to see this and stop it when it gets to this person because I'm about to blow your mind right now. Okay. People are speculating it's Starkiller. That doesn't really make sense. I hope it is. I love Starkiller. People are speculating that it could be an older Sith that was put into sleep that they're waking back up. That's an interesting idea.
That looks like whoever's on the front of the Knights of the Old Republic 2, I think. The guy in the hood and the mask. Or woman, I don't know.
Yeah, people are saying it could be like older Sith, like Revan in Sleep, or I don't know the lore on a lot of the Old Republic Sith lords, but you should be about it to part. Here's what I'm thinking. The guy in this Bacta tank, he's pale. He has long hair. His hair is light color. It looks white. I'm not sure if it's white, but it looks white. Pale skin. Oh, you can see his shoulder. He kind of got lines through his shoulder. You know who I think this is?
Who?
I think this is Cal Kestis. I think they cloned him. And I think that they could have used Utapawan DNA for some reason. There might be some explanation. His skin looks pale. He has cracks along his shoulder, almost like the face of an Utapawan. And look at the eyes and the nose and like the eyebrow structure. Look at that right above the mask. Looks just like Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
Imagine a Sith Cal Kestis, light skin, got the cracks in his skin like an Utapawan, long white hair. And why else would they have the Sith covered like that in that fight? You're going to be fighting him, and the robe's going to come off. It's going to be Cal. That is a Sith Cal Kestis, and you got to spend the game surviving against a Sith version of yourself.
But then, if the guy in the tank is the same guy is the robed figure, then why would he be in a tank with Cal looking at him?
Because they got to grow him. Like imagine the clones from episode 2. Think about that right here.
What I mean is like, so like, do you think Cal would be seeing him in the tank and then he leaves the tank somehow like later on and then starts tracking him down?
Yeah, that gets into speculation on the story. I'd have to think a little bit more about that, about the events from chapter to chapter or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think he is probably held prisoner, or I guess he's not really prisoner on that. It looks abandoned. You can obviously see that where that tank is abandoned. So maybe he discovers a planet where they were cloning, and maybe they've made multiple clones, or this is a failed clone, or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, go ahead. Tell me. What do you think?
I don't know how I feel about this, but it's the only thing I can think of that makes sense. So it could either be because apparently, let me actually fact check this real quick, but I think I heard that in the Rise of Skywalker novelization, Rey's dad was actually a failed Palpatine clone.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think this could either be a Palpatine clone or this could be a young Snoke. I don't know how likely that is, but I mean, I don't know. It's possible.
It could be the start. It's like when they tease that planet at the very end of Bad Batch, the very last episode. That was the name is, man, when you're live on here, names and stuff just you have it in your head and then it just leaves. And then as soon as we're going to be done with this conversation, it's going to come back into my head. Bad Batch is awesome, but they tease a planet. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue, dude.
Let me help you.
I can't.
I'll look it up.
It's a planet that's known for cloning. Anyways, he could be traveling to that planet, and this could be the start of that cloning process to clone Force users. Because in episode 2, they were cloning
Wayland.
Maybe.
Is that it?
Maybe.
It's not one word. It's two words.
Yeah, it is Planet Wayland. What I'm thinking of is Mount Tantus specifically. Because that was it was first introduced in the landmark Star Wars book Heir to the Empire, written by Timothy Zahn in 1991. Yeah, but you're right. It is Wayland. You're right. I'm going to explain it why that place would make sense. Mount Tantus was a mountain on the planet of Wayland that housed one of the Emperor Palpatine's secret storehouses. It was considered a forbidden place by both the Sadan and I can't even say that. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It came to house Grand Admiral Thrawn's secret cloning program during the Thrawn campaign. So there was a secret cloning program here. Maybe he is in Mount Tantus on this in this teaser right here, and he discovers a clone that is Force sensitive, because that would be the precursor to Snoke, would be the precursor to the failed Palpatine experiments that you were talking about.
Well, if you see like they make a point to show like Cal's face, because like they could have just as easily shown like the over the shoulder shot of him looking into the tank, but like they show his face, and he looks like he's like, oh my god, like he's like really focused on what he's looking at.
I think, dude, I literally have never heard this theory, and it just popped into my head. I'll be shocked if this is like some huge theory out there. I haven't been listening to Star Wars podcasts for about the last month or two, but dude, I think we're on to something. I think we're on to something.
I have two questions about that theory, though.
Go.
One is a smaller one, but why does the clone have blonde hair?
art. I think art design, art choice. I think just because the like I said, the Utapalan DNA maybe makes him a little bit more pale, cracks in his skin, long white hair. He's gonna be the Sephiroth to Cal Kestis.
He kind of actually looks like Sephiroth. That's funny.
Yeah, you like what I did there?
So okay, so the second one actually has two parts. When do you think they might have cloned Cal, and for what purpose?
I'm not sure exactly how they got his DNA, but I noticed one thing. The middle of the trailer, 45 seconds in, you see the Utapalan smiling with his nasty teeth looking down, and what he's looking down at is Cal Kestis' saber.
Oh, yeah.
So how'd they get the saber? They must have captured Cal or something. That shot right there, if you look at the order of the teaser, it shows the Utapalan, shows Cal battling the Sith, it shows him in possession of Cal's saber, and then it shows Cal looking at the vat, the tank with, subject whatever in it.
I mean, I'm not sure how I would feel about that, but I mean, it's
this
obviously
is all speculation.
down to the execution. Yeah, it's obviously down to the execution. Like, if they can make that story while still maintaining Cal's everymanness, then I think that'd be cool. But like, because I would just worry about like them doing that thing where it's like, oh, you know, when you played the first game, you know, you're like, oh, he's just a regular guy, and then in Jedi Survive, it's like, nope, not really. Well, like, I feel like that would kind of undermine, you know, a lot of why people like him. But I mean, any story can either fail or succeed. So
that's fair. I think you're right, and that's, it's speculation, and like you said, it all comes down to the execution. Staying on topic of Star Wars games, you ready to get into the topic of the show?
Yeah,
I have it in here as the big Star Wars leak. You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is where the fun begins. Star Wars Eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars Eclipse, developed by Quantic Dream.
David Cage,
we have some information on it.
He's back,
we have some information.
Oh?
Quantic Dream presents Star Wars Eclipse, now in early development. Weave your own Star Wars story in Star Wars Eclipse. This is a quote from Quantic Dream, the website, the overview of the game. Quote, Star Wars Eclipse is an intricately branching action-adventure game that can be experienced in many ways and puts the destinies of multiple playable characters in your hands, created in collaboration between Quantic Dream and Lucasfilm Games. Set in the High Republic era of Star Wars universe, Star Wars Eclipse lets you play as a diverse cast of charismatic characters, each with their own story, abilities, and role to play in the tapestry of events that could alter the carefully balanced piece of the Outer Rim. Choices have consequences. Every decision you make can have dramatic repercussions on your journey. Alter your relationships, the locations you visit, the battles you fight, and even the fate of the characters themselves. The way of life in the Outer Rim is being threatened, and you must define your path. Become the architect of a devastating war, a peacemaker who will restore balance, or something else altogether. Of course, Quantic Dream, known for Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, a few others. Before we get into the leaks, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the game and your experiences with Quantic Dream games.
Boy, when you said I'm going to love this subject, you were not lying. Oh, my God. Okay.
I had to have you on for this.
Okay. Okay.
I had to.
All right. I'll start with my history with Quantic Dream. All right. So.
All right, go. Let me know.
My history with Quantic Dream was I played. It's insane, and I played it so many times because I just never played a game like that. That introduced me to like that genre of like choice-based adventure games. Beyond Two Souls, I thought was pretty mediocre. Detroit Become Human. I played that in 2020. I had to quarantine for 2 weeks because my mom tested positive for COVID because she was in contact with someone else who tested positive.
So Detroit was your
played,
COVID game.
Yeah, I played it twice back to back, and I loved every second. So, man, when I heard they were making this Star Wars game, I had two thoughts. One of them was kind of a worry, like, how are they going to do the combat? Is it just going to be quick time events? Because that would be bad for a Star Wars game. And their games have a tendency to, like, be unintentionally funny in certain ways. So, like, I hope that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I'm like, dude, there is no way I'm not going to play this game like 5 times in a row.
Yes. So the overview of the game being set in the High Republic, it's the era that's in the novels right now. It is set 400 years before Episode 1, I believe.
Oh.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing I've been wanting to see. Oh, God. I didn't know this, actually.
400, I believe, right?
I'm finding this out in real time.
Well, I had to. Listen, I know what I'm doing. I had to have you on for this.
Oh, my God.
Okay, the era spans 350 years to 50 years before the Skywalker saga begins. Let's get into the leaks. The game is only in pre-production, so take this, as you will.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you listen to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast?
No.
Okay. They're my favorite podcast. Listen to it every week. I was listening to them one week, and they actually broke this news. Somebody from Quantic Dream reached out to them and gave them a document with the leaked information. And here is that information. According to the leak, quote, Star Wars Eclipse will feature a lead character called Sarah, a member of a human-like race based in a part of the Star Wars galaxy we have not seen before. This race, known as the Zeron, is known for military and political aggression. But in Eclipse, Sarah will be paired with another character named Zendo, who isn't as keen on violence. The game will partly focus on these two characters and their dynamic and opposing views. If you've ever played a Quantic Dream game, this shouldn't sound too surprising. Quantic Dream titles often feature multiple characters with different personalities while giving the player some wiggle room in decisions to experience different outcomes. Since the game is set during the High Republic and features unexplored regions of the Star Wars universe, Quantic Dream has a lot of wiggle room for creativity that would not be present if they were making a game set closer to the Star Wars film saga. It is worth noting that Sacred Symbols podcast notes that the document seen indicates that the game has not entered full production yet. There, end quote. That's from a website called kitguru.net, where I just found a write-up of this. But just from what I remember from that episode, you're playing as a character named Sarah, right? You're being paired with another character named Zendo. You're part of a race that is aggressive. Your status is from your military position or your political position. One character is all about that. You know what I mean? They're about that life. Zendo wants out of it. So, knowing Quantic Dream and the games that they have, I'm assuming you're going to be able to make choices whether you want to continue down that path of aggression or if you want to follow Zendo into a non-violent path. But what will that mean when you're a part of a race that's about aggression? So with that information, tell me what you think about the new character, the new race, the Zeron.
It's funny. In Detroit Become Human, one of the playable characters is a guy named Marcus. Well, he's not a guy, he's an android, but he's like, they don't really explain this, but he's like, there's just like a group of android freedom fighters that are like prophesying the coming of their savior, and then that ends up being Marcus. And there's a section fairly early on where like you go into a news station to like broadcast a message to humans, and you can either be a pacifist or be violent about it. And then like that affects like how people see you, how they feel about you, and affects the climax, which is a damn incredible climax in my opinion. It's intense. It's like if you pick the pacifist route, you're just like not fighting back against like the SWAT teams and stuff. But if you pick the violent path, ooh baby, it is a fun action thrill ride. So if this is true, man, I am expecting some awesome shit. Excuse my French, but that sounds awesome. So I hope something like that happens. If not exactly
one element, me too. One piece of information I missed is that the two characters are married, Sarah and Zendo. They find themselves on opposite sides of the political conflict within their world, within the Empire, because they're actually the Zeron are an empire on the outskirts of the Star Wars universe. So think of the Uzong Vong from Legends, in a way. So that was leaked by Sacred Symbols, and I'm reading on GameSpot right now that the leak was intentional because it was meant to gauge the interest of the game. It's in pre-production, and this was most likely to recruit talent and gauge whether or not this is a good idea for them to continue with. This sounds very likely. I'm sure that this will be an element of the game. If not, like you were talking about with Detroit Become Human, this might be one of 3 or one of 4 or one of 5, stories within the game. The whole game might not be about these two, characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The conflict between these two characters. You might play through a portion with these two characters, and then you might go to another. So, very interesting stuff. I think you're spot on about how their formula, the quantic dream, your decisions matter type formula is going to be perfect for a Star Wars game like this. It's an original story.
One more really quick thing before you go to the next point.
Yep.
If you pick the violent route, you can start a romance with one of the female androids that's in your faction.
Okay.
They don't have one for the pacifist, which is really dumb. But like, I didn't like, because like, there's a moment where like you're having a conversation with her, and then you can like do this like mind meld thing where you like see each other's like past traumas and stuff, and like that opens a romance path.
Tell me that doesn't sound like the Force.
Yeah, like if they do, like I could imagine like if you're married, like you can. I mean, I'm not saying like it's right to cheat, but it's a freaking video game, so whatever. But like, imagine you like meet like another.
They give you these crazy choices.
Character who
they give you
can like choose to leave your partner for that character because you like change your mind about stuff or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like
they give you the agency,
you gonna ruin your family,
like the what is it? The Star Wars: The Old Republic games or Knights of the Old Republic games. They give you that agency to craft your own story. They give you the agency to craft your own stories. And one of the key features is that it's an original story. I'm reading from their website. With all new characters and environments, you have the power to make countless moral and tactical decisions and create a story that is entirely yours. No two playthroughs will be the same, thanks to many outcomes in this deeply branching narrative. The next key feature is called Shape Your Fate in the Outer Rim, an uncharted section of the galaxy with never-before-seen species and planets to discover. The Outer Rim is rife with opportunity and political tensions that could alter the fabric of peace. So what I'm thinking is your race, the what were they called? I gotta find that. The Zeron, as a Zeronian or whatever you want to call them, you might be able to have a relationship with another species that's going to alter the political factions within the, Outer Rim.
Are you with me or are you my enemy? And then it's like you make the choice. Like, are you gonna just do what they want you to do and keep the peace, or are you gonna have to fight them? Like, it could be
Like
really
poetry. It rhymes.
So that they rhyme.
The last key feature. Weave a tapestry of interlaced destinies. See the galaxy through the eyes of an ensemble cast of multiple, charismatic, playable characters, each with their own morality, personality, motivations, and impact upon each other and the story at large. And that right there, the last key feature, that's the most interesting part to me. You can play as multiple. I don't know if it's going to be optional or you do. You know what I mean? Either way, there's going to be multiple different characters and they say charismatic, playable characters, each with their own morality. So you might play as the Zeranian. I'm going to need someone to make a video explaining how to pronounce. You know what I mean? I'm doing my best. So you might play as a Zeranian, and there might be another race that you're warring against, but you have a relationship with somebody from that race. And whether you choose to be with them or not is going to impact the story of that character once you get to that character, or the whole story at large. You might be able to prevent an intergalactic war in the Outer Rim. You might be able to start a war with the Republic or prevent it. It's like Detroit Become Human if it was on the galactic level.
Yeah. Well, again, referencing that game, the other playable character is named Connor. He's a detective, essentially working with the police department, and you can play him 100%, either following his programming or starting to become more sentient, and choose his own path, or waver in between the two. And in my first playthrough, there's a moment where I made the choice because he finds out where the freedom fighters are hiding, and then he confronts the leader, Marcus, who's the other playable character, and then Marcus is trying to convince him to join their cause, and you could either choose to join them or not. So that would be for this game.
Love that.
I could see a moment where you're having that moment, and it's it's so freaking cool because it's all based on how the player feels about whatever the characters are saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I love that.
So I think that would be really cool if they utilize it properly.
I agree, and I'm going through their website right now, looking at some information, and they say they have 300 people on their staff. That is a good amount of people for making a game this ambitious. And there's also leaks. I saw that Tom Henderson is reporting that this is an open world game. Very interesting, because they're known for their single player narrative driven games. So this could be narrative driven, but it's open world.
They're
not known for
their
that.
games. They're certain things you can do when you're in a location, but it's always linear. But I wonder how that would work.
No, it's that could be something they put on they brainstormed about, and then they decided to scrap, or they're going to go through with it. It's in the early stages of production, so there's a lot of news to come still. This was just a small leak, but with something this ambitious, there's a lot of information and potential we can speculate just from these little bit of leaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as lovers of Star Wars, that's what we do, man. Because I think we were on to something with the Star Wars Eclipse and Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
I haven't heard those theories, so I think we did something here.
Yeah.
So with that, Is there anything else you have to say before we end it?
I was gonna ask if you still want to do the thing where we do where we pitch a project, but it seems like we're wrapping up, so it doesn't matter.
That's the thing with Star Wars. There's so much we could go in depth on that we're going to do multiple episodes. We're not just going to do one or two. We're going to do multiple.
I feel like that subject should be like its own episode.
I agree. And I want to have it fleshed out and have an outline and everything. So next time, it's either going to be our Star Wars dream project, fan project, or it's going to be the... actually, we'll do that next so we have time to watch the movies.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Close us out. What final words?
My love for Star Wars has kind of been like a severely dwindling fire. You know, like I'm talking about this, thinking about like the future of the games and stuff. I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to fall back in love with it. Hopefully, you all had fun listening to us talk about this stuff, and may the Force be with you.
I think Star Wars is getting back to the place that George, had it in all those years ago. And I'm so happy about it. It's been fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So until next time, may the Force be with you, my friend.